If someone came from another planet, how would you explain to them what it is you do? Could you do that? Could you explain what your job is?
Would they know about television?
Yeah, they would know about television maybe.
Mm-hmm. I would just say that I'm a man who talks with children on television and helps them to feel as good as possible about themselves and about the people that they meet.
I'd be interested to hear something about the fact that you're a vegetarian. A friend of mine heard I was doing this sent me an article that was in a magazine about, and I'd be interested to know what brought about that decision, or how long have you been a vegetarian, or would you talk about that?
Sure. I don't know exactly how it came about. I don't think I ever really did care much for meat. But from the time that my father died, I haven't had meat in my diet. And that was in 1970. And then a few years ago, I gave up seafood. And that was simply because I said to somebody, I had heard that fish was very good for you. And that person said, yeah, but it's not good for the fish. And I hadn't thought of that. And of course we have fish on the neighborhood set that we take care of too. But that's just something that I feel better about. And it's not something that I'm a proselytizer for. I know a lot of very fine people who have a great variety of diets. Food is a very important thing to people who are interested in nourishment, the nourishment of life. And the very first view that we have of our whole world is that view of our mother's face during our nursing. And so we get our very first impressions of what this world is like through our mouth and our eyes. And if what's good is coming into our mouth and what's good is coming into our eyes, we have a mighty strong beginning. But that was very important to have people read to me. And I remember how important it was to our boys. They'd always want to be read to, especially Jay. And now he just devours books. I'm convinced that if a child is read to by a loved one early on, that child will somehow recreate that scene himself or herself by reading. And when you're an adult, you might not have that person right there, but you have the memory of that person right there as you're doing the reading. That's the most important help in helping children to learn to read, is to read to them with affection and with an arm around them, if you can. I went to NBC, and they hired me, well, first as a gopher. You know, everybody was either a person who gave tours, or you were assigned to a program to go for coffee or Coke or orange juice or whatever the producers and directors wanted. Well, that was a good experience for me, because there were those who treated me well, and there were those who treated me like, how can I say that? There were those who treated me like a servant. And when I would bring something to them that they liked, they never acknowledged it. And if I would bring something to them without the cream that was supposed to be in it, then I was told. And I remember that as a very fine experience in my life, because I know how I felt when somebody treated me with disdain because of the job that I had. I was no less a person than I ever was. But being in that position, there were those people who felt that they could treat me as somebody less. And that, coupled with an experience that I had one time when I met a movie star and asked if I could, there were people taking her picture all over the place. I made the mistake of asking her. Well, it wasn't a mistake, it turned out to be wonderful for me. I asked her if I could take her picture, and she said, "I'd rather not." And I was crestfallen, because she was somebody I wanted to take her picture of. And that served me so well. I, at that point, never thought in a million years that anybody would ever want to take my pictures, people that I didn't know personally. So whenever anybody asks me now, "Could I take your picture, or could I have my picture taken with you?" I immediately say, "Why, of course." I know how it feels to be turned down. And when you can be in the position of turning up somebody at a time like that, I think it's a real addition. Laughter record. Used to play one like this when I was a young boy. You see, I felt that the adults around me were pressuring me to be what I couldn't be yet. Act like a grown-up, I'd hear them say. Well, I was afraid they'd laugh at me when I tried. So I found a record like this, and I could make the laughs start and make them stop whenever I wanted to. For someone who hated to be laughed at, it was a good feeling to be in charge of at least this laughter. I think that those who would try to make you feel less than who you are, I think that's the greatest evil. The people who have had a lot of struggle in their lives, those are the people who really impress me.
Like who?
There was an interview with a little boy by the name of Jeff Erlinger.
Your feelings, whether old or new, I hope that you'll remember, even when you're feeling blue, that it's you I like, it's you yourself, it's you, it's you I like.
And it is you I like, Jeff.
Thanks.
And there must be times when you do feel blue.
Uh-huh.
I'm not feeling blue right now, though.
Me neither.
I'm so glad that you came today. It's a very, very personal medium, as you may know. And it's received by everyone differently, because each person brings his or her own story to that program that's on that particular moment. I can recognize the joys of life as well as anybody. But I think that people really do desire to be in touch with honesty. No matter what they say, no matter what kind of bravado precedes them, I think that they really want to be in touch with what they consider to be something honest that they can be related to. I think we all look for that.
You obviously have a power now. I mean, that you wouldn't have had when you first started the show.
Well, it might sound very ingenuous, but I don't feel that.
Behold, these shall be your minions.
I would hope that anybody who sets himself or herself out to produce mass programming for children could have the kind of respect of childhood that I had. Because it's not all clowns and balloons.
A lot of television's pretty terrible.
What do you mean you don't agree with me?
Some television programs are loud and scary, with people shooting and hitting other people. You know, you can do something about that. When you see scary television, you can turn it off. We need to help our children become more and more aware that what is essential in life is invisible to the eye.
Thank you.
I want to know what you mean when you say, "Won't you be my neighbor?"
Mm-hmm. Well, I suppose it's an invitation. Won't you be my neighbor? It's an invitation for somebody to be close to you, because that's what neighbors are. They happen to be in the same neighborhood and close. And I think it's a parable for the desire for closeness. And if you can be close, why then, and if you can care about me, then maybe there are things that you'll want to learn that I have to give you. Teachers are very, very important in a child's life. Well, in anybody's life. You know, I think about Jesus being called a teacher. Rabboni means teacher. And it's such a lofty profession. Could be, should be, is that of teacher. Imagine giving what you have learned to somebody else. There have been people who have given me the compliment of being a teacher, and I take that as a very big compliment. And if students, well, I don't know whether kids realize how important they are to teachers. Without their students, teachers would not be teachers. Without kids who want to watch the neighborhood, I would not be a television artist. Without Jay and John, I would not be a father. Without without a friend, I would not be a friend. All of the relationships in life that are so enhancing to who we are. You know, I think everybody longs to be loved, and longs to know that he or she is lovable. And consequently, the greatest thing that we can do is to help somebody know that they're loved and capable of loving. You've made this day a special day, you see, by just your being you. And if a person can receive that, of course it's an enhancement to them. But think of what an enhancement it is to the giver. You know, are we finished?
Yeah.
Because this is what I always play at the end of any studio day.